Good afternoon, dear Sangha. Welcome back. A few announcements before we get started. As always, if you're here in the Dharma Hall, please silence your phones. And if you're at home, please make sure that your microphones are muted. We are very excited to have Maureen here. Or wait, is that Pod? Your spiritual name?
Paranata.
Paranata here is our resident teacher to support the Venerables for this month of August. So welcome back.
Thank you.
We also have an upcoming retreat. It's starting this week on Thursday, but there is still time to register. So please go to our website and go to the retreats page for more information. But it will be the Liberating Teachings of the Buddha with Annie Nugent this Thursday, August 12th through the 15th. That would be Sunday. Venerable Panawati is offering a book study. The class is Thursday at 5 p.m. The book is Learning from Buddha by Buddha Master His Holiness Dorji Chang, Buddha III. So if you're interested in joining, please visit the retreat page on our website and select the book study option. Novena prayers are occurring monthly every third Thursday, so that's actually this week. So if you have any confidential prayer requests that you'd like to send for yourself or loved ones, which can include pets, and those who might be sick or suffering misfortune or departed, you can send those to prayer@heartwoodrefuge.org. Fully vaccinated Sangha members are invited to Heartwood for Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday Dharma, as well as Thursday book study. And finally, as always, please like, follow, and share Heartwood and Thrifty Treasures on all social media to help spread the Dharma and further Heartwood's mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Mani. Okay, friends, let's go ahead and start with the chant incense burning, and with the intention to invite all the Buddhas, the Devas, the Bodhisattvas, all the holy beings to join us in the Dharma this morning. Incense burning, all space is filled with the fragrance. Oh, Buddhas smell it from afar. Auspicious clouds gather everywhere. With utmost sincerity, all Buddhas appear. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. And so those of you who know me know that my Dharma calling includes music. So I always offer Dharma music when I give Dharma talks. And when I'm being that folk singer out there in the world, playing at the wineries or the pubs, I also offer Dharma music in those environments. And you know, people seem to get it. So, yeah, lovely. So we're going to start this morning with this craving is the builder of this house. If you know the lyrics to it and you want to sing it along with me, please do. Craving is the builder of this house. Craving is is the builder of this house. Through many a rebirth, in samsara wandering, I sought but did not find the builder of this house. How painful, how sorrowful to be born again and again. Craving is the builder of this house. Craving is the builder of this house. Oh, house builder, I see you at last. You will build your house no more. The ridgepole shatters, your rafters all fall down. My mind realizes the unborn, and craving comes to an end. Craving comes to an end. Craving is the builder of this house. Craving is the builder of this house. I love that one. And it might, especially for folks out on the internet, this particular prose, song, poem, scripture might be unfamiliar to you. In case it's not really obvious, this house, this is the house of self. This is the house that craving continues to feed, that wanting mind continues to feed. And when you look at it from that perspective, it becomes very clear what we're saying with this particular song. Okay. So this morning I'd like to speak with you about the prison of self. And for many of you, especially those of you who have been practicing quite a while, this is going to be very, very familiar. But, and sometimes when our judging mind comes in, it's like, I know this stuff, I've heard this stuff, yeah, I know all this. I'd like you to lay that part aside, and I'd like you to approach this with a beginner's mind, like you've never heard it before, and let it sink in on a different level. I think of things like Dharma, even the very most basic Dharma. I kind of think of it like ice cream. Yeah, oh yeah, I've tasted chocolate ice cream. Don't need it anymore. I've tasted it once. I don't need it anymore. But who feels that way about ice cream? You tasted it once and now you know you love it. And the same thing is true of the Dharma when we approach it with a beginner's mind. It's like, oh yeah, I've tasted this before and I still love it. So let's hear it from that place in our hearts this morning. That's the invitation. So, what is it that leads to unhappiness? In any situation, event, encounter, we can see what leads to the state of unhappiness if we look closely. The common thread seems to be that there is an incongruity between the situation at hand and our inner perception of how it ought to be. Somehow we develop expectations that things should be a certain way. And in our mind, we've neatly stacked the deck of how we want it to be. And then the universe comes in and takes our neatly stacked deck of cards and goes, and in that moment, we have a choice. We can go into the darn it all and the kind of resistance, aversion. Or we can go, aha, what now? And it becomes fresh. We have an opportunity to choose a whole new way of being in that moment. So we can look at, well, then what's next? That one didn't work. Okay, what's next? There's this entity that we call ourself, I or me. It's nebulous, without boundaries. It seems to include our bodies, our sensations, our thoughts, our perceptions, our consciousness. It may even include our possessions and our family. So our mind, our self, has two primary driving forces. Number one, it wants. And number two, it doesn't want. So it wants to be loved, it wants to be right, it wants to be happy, it wants to be secure. It wants things, it wants experiences. It exerts a kind of pressure on us to go after the things that it wants. We all know that feeling, that kind of craving mind, the pull. Some wants appear to be wholesome. Some wants appear to be unwholesome. And catering to our physical and mental desires. Number two, it doesn't want. It feels aversion or it feels rejection. Unpleasant experiences, the unknown, boredom. Some rejections are wholesome, like when we're in danger. There's actually a danger here. That kind of a thing, we reject that. And that's a healthy rejection. Some rejections are unwholesome. They're unpleasant situations, but they're situations that we cannot change. Our desires and aversion create a very solid feeling, sense of self. Eckhart Tolle calls that the little me. And often it's based on emotion only. And it can really arise with a big kind of the illusion of reality to it. We may, quote, know better, but it doesn't change the way we feel. And being able to sit with those negative emotions. A friend of mine who I had coffee with this morning was working with some irritation, but had that being not said to me, I'm working with a little irritation this morning, I never would have known, because they didn't radiate. You know, when you get next to somebody who's got that angst going on, they don't have to say anything. You'd get in their presence and you can feel it. But this one was working with the practice so well that had they not shared that with me, I never would have known it. That's what we're working towards, to where when it comes up, we can look it in the face and it doesn't take a hold of us. It doesn't change what we are emitting out into the world. So we're no longer being the spiritual cigar smoke in our environment. So what a gift it is to ourselves and others to come to this place. Afflictive emotions can arise with desire and aversion, anger, frustration, and that leads to aversion to others or to situations. We can become closed off from others through greed, a feeling of not enough to go around. It's based on fear. And it creates a space between ourselves and others. There's really only one of us in many disguises. But when that selfing piece comes in, there's a clear me and a clear you in that space. So there's like 4 individual beings there. But it doesn't take much to look just a little deeper and realize, we're all gems on Indra's net. We're all in this together. If you're hurting, I'm hurting on a certain level. If I'm hurting, you're hurting on a certain level. So we're not just practicing for ourselves. We're practicing for all beings. What a gift that is in a way. Because I know if I was just in that selfing place and I had that big space of separateness between me and you, then I could slack on my practice because I'm not hurting anybody but myself. And I know we probably all are familiar with that feeling. But the truth is, when we deprive ourselves of the Dharma, when we deprive ourselves of that regular polishing of the heart and mind, we're not only depriving ourselves, we're also bailing on all living beings, that little piece that we could have added, that drop we could have put in the ocean of transformation. We neglected to put it in. Our moments here on this planet are so precious. They're so limited. When you're young, and a lot of you are young, at least comparatively, a lot of times we don't realize, we take it for granted. We think we've got time. I recently had a personal experience of realizing, oh no, we don't necessarily have time. I lost my 50-year-old son-in-law, and I kicked out the in-law 30 years ago. So my 50-year-old son to COVID. And that was the biggest remorse I felt when he passed, was I wished I'd have got to know him better. He's my family. He's my boy. I wished I had got to know him better. That was my greatest remorse. I thought we had more time, and we didn't. So don't be lulled into a false sense of security that just because you're young and just because your friends are young, you've got more time. Show the kindness now. If the thought arises to do a kind deed or to say a kind word or to look into the eyes of a stranger and smile, if that thought arises, don't miss the opportunity to spread that love. Not the kind of love, that word is so loaded for us because it means so many different things in our culture. Not the kind of love we're talking about. I think a synonym for that is light. It's a selfless, beautiful, energetic, blissful oneness kind of love. That's the stuff that when we look into the eyes of a total stranger and smile, Deepa always says, smile at a stranger. And we don't know, that one could have been really bottoming out. And just that little chunk of love that you sent to that one could make the difference for them on some level. We don't know, but boy, it's not worth missing the opportunity. And so being in those places of afflictive emotion lead to our own unhappiness and very well could lead to the unhappiness of others. Desire and aversion are sticky, and we become attached. we become attached sometimes to just the feeling of desiring. That wanting mind, for some reason, it's like the anticipation of getting, we can become addicted to that. We also can become addicted to those afflictive emotions, the anger. We somehow think that this is justified. And it feeds that, Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. There's a resonance of stagnant pain in us that feeds on more pain. And if you think about it, there may have been a time in your lives, I know there has been times in my life where I've kind of almost, once it gets triggered, I look for more opportunities. And as a child, I can remember, even as a very young child, this thing is in us. It's at that early conditioning. And I can remember getting very angry, having a fight with one of the brothers and sisters and getting sent to my room and go to bed without supper. And I'd be so frustrated and so angry, I would break my very favorite toys. I was feeling pain, and boy, that addiction to the pain made me inflict more pain on myself. This is the nature of that kind of stuff. It can be addictive, and we need to realize how sticky it is. Bad moods, anger. We look for something to be upset with. And then we cling to our own opinions. Our opinions are right. And we must have an opinion about most things. Talk about a poison, fixed beliefs, ideas, and opinions that we cling to, that feed the self. That's the poison, one of the poisons. Suffering and unhappiness come about because of our attachment. Things will not last. Impermanence. It's either when you're in that kind of selfing place, impermanence is just truth on your deepest level. But when we're up in that kind of selfing mode in the world, impermanence can be the worst curse, like in the death of a loved one. Or it can be the greatest gift, like in that person who you never got along with at work, just found a better job and moved away. It's like, so impermanence is both lovely and difficult, but on that level. And then that's the regular level where we're just looking. But when we look at it through the microscope, we realize that impermanence is just truth. It's part of the nature of this world of samsara. So things will not last. Often they don't turn out as well as we want. We are not in control, not even in control of this human animal, this body that we think of as us. We can't control it. If we could control it, it wouldn't age. It would never get sick, and it wouldn't die until you were good and ready. And our thoughts, we're not in control of our thoughts. You ever notice that something will cross your mind and it's like, where did that come from? Sometimes it could be a horrible thought. One that sticks in my mind that I have often felt, not so much these days, but when I was younger, when I'd be on a high bridge looking down and I'd get this urge to jump. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? It runs against everything in my instincts to stay alive, just these kinds of things. Thoughts are not ours. Thoughts are like the weather. Thoughts come through. We are all so interconnected that if we're paying attention, we can realize that isn't even my thought. I've noticed it in the line in the grocery store, and I'll be 2 or 3 people back, and all of a sudden I'm feeling frustration. And I'm starting to think, well, what am I frustrated about? Or something when I go home, what is it? And then the voices get a little louder up there at the cash register, and he's given her a heck of a time with something he's frustrated about. And I realize, oh, that is not even my emotion. I'm not responsible for that frustration and anger. It was not mine. It's just that we're all in this together. I am you, you are me on one level, and I just picked it up. But where my responsibility comes in is if I choose to feed it and go, yeah, I've been with this cashier before, and she always da-da-da-da. When you start to feed it, that's when it becomes yours. That's when you are building karma. And so just to know that I love the metaphor of the room full of violins, and one A string gets plucked. And within a moment, every A string in the room is resonating and you're hearing the A. And that's how it is with us, because we all have that ability as humans to be angry and frustrated. So when one other gets angry and frustrated, it has the capacity to pluck our A string, our anger string. But we also have a hand, and when it's plucked, we can choose to mute it. It's as simple as that. It's so simple, but it's not easy until you've done it a while. And then it becomes second nature. When that anger string gets plucked, immediately you're on it. You mute it right there. And you bless the being who's having a difficult time. What a beautiful shift. Suffering ends when we don't feed it. We're also not in control of our feelings. Feelings just come up. That's where it gets a little trickier. It's not as simple as just muting the A string to begin with. Because our feelings are our feelings, and they really touch the self on an almost unconscious level, where they can really get a hold of you before you realize that they have. But the more you get used to catching them in the act and subduing them, relinquishing them, releasing them, that's where it helps to have tools. You all may have your own tools. One of my favorite tools that keeps me more on a lighthearted and playful level is welcome to the human condition. What did you expect, Maureen? Welcome to the human condition. And it almost makes me chuckle. So the more you can do things to lighten it up a bit, that stops those afflictive emotions from pulling you down, pulling your energy down, and getting you by the throat. So the prison of self arises from our attachment in the form of desire and in the form of aversion. Desire and aversion are not bad. The problem comes when our lives are run by these attachments. So we might have desire for a pizza. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going out and getting a pizza. Grab a friend, take them along. But if you get there and your favorite pizza place is closed, and there's where the choice comes. There's where the attachment has the ability to get you by the throat. And if you can, like we said, when the neatly stacked deck of cards gets thrown up in the air by the universe, you can say, well, this isn't going to work. What's next? We'll go for sushi. And no suffering happens at all in those moments because we recognized it, we caught it, and we redirected. So the attachment is the problem, not the desire and aversion. The key to the prison of self is mindfulness. Now, there are many, many other tools. Once we have opened that awareness, then we got the tendency to believe in the illusion of a separate self. The mindfulness is that key that opens it up. Through mindfulness, we come to see clearly what's going on in our mind. You can watch it. That metacognitive skill is such a gift. We see those opinions and beliefs that are holding us captive. Things like self-fulfilling prophecies. I am an unhappy person. We even use our Buddhist teachings sometimes to tether ourselves to something. When we get into the Abhidhamma and the Buddhist personality types, the greed, aversion, delusion, speculative, faithful. What's the one I'm missing? Anybody got it? There's another one. And then when we start to own that as an identity, it's no longer useful. All it is a tendency. It's just a tendency. And throughout our lives, as we grow in our practice, those tendencies might change. I've noticed for my own self, when I first started studying Buddhism, it was real clear. I was a greed type. I wanted things. I wanted beautiful things. I wanted lots of things. My instant reaction to anything without any information was yes, more. But then my dear husband, we noticed, was an aversion type. His instant reaction to everything was no. He didn't have to have any information. He just said no. We invited out to dinner at a friend's house. No. But over the time that I worked with my practice, I watched my desire for things, for beautiful things, for more things, a nicer car, a bigger house, those desires started dropping away. And I found in the place of it was gratitude for the things I've got. A house that the roof doesn't leak. I can heat it in the winter and I can cool it in the summer. Gratitude came in. And now I see my predominant self, personality type, as more of the faithful type, which has its own shortcomings too, because you can become quite a Pollyanna and not be willing to look at that which is disgusting or turns you off. And so that now recognizing the faithful type and its tendency to not want to see the painful or the ugly. And Venerable was so great with the teaching on find the beauty in the ugly. Find the ugly in the beautiful. And that has helped so much because these days I can look the ugly in the eye and I can feel how just an acceptance of it exactly as it is in this moment, it can become, I can actually see what's beautiful in here. There's a story from the Bible. I can't quote you. Venerable can quote you chapter and verse. That comes from her training as a Baptist minister. But in this story, Jesus was walking with a friend along a dirt road, and they came across the dead body of a dog, and it was partially rotted and it smelled bad. And the friend is going, "Oh, how disgusting." And Jesus looks at the little dead body decomposing, and the teeth are visible. And he said, "Oh, but look at the beautiful white teeth." The dog had such beautiful, strong, white teeth. We can do that. It's a choice. Whether we want to just let that ugly throw us off our center, or can we go a little deeper? Can we see what's beautiful here? So, the self-fulfilling prophecies, I'm an unhappy person, I cannot be mindful, whatever that stupid storyline is that your mind wants to put on you, let it go. Paying attention helps us see that desires and aversions will pass. Like anything else, they're not permanent. They'll pass whether we want them to or not. This is impermanence. We can come to see that we are not our desires or aversions. They are mindless processes that influence our rational mind, but they are not rational. We can experiment with not satisfying them, play with them. And you can actually turn this into a little game. When you know it's something that really you need to avoid, but the thinking mind and the desiring self is pushing you in that direction. A good one for me was when I first became a vegan. I became a vegan because I had had a heart attack. And my cardiologist said, "You've got to get away from all animal products." It didn't bother me. I could leave barbecue alone. I could leave roasted turkey alone. But when it came to cheese, oh, I was a cheese addict. And so to watch that desire to just cheat a little, instead of ordering my pizza with vegetables and no cheese, and I would think, just this once. That's the desiring mind's favorite mantra, just this once. And it's never was. And so in that moment, when you feel that desiring mind, to look at it playfully and say, what would happen if I didn't do it just this once? And then feel into that and don't do it. The more often we rein it in, the stronger that becomes and the less reflexive that desiring, clinging, craving becomes. It loses its power the more times you rein it in. So each time it happens, that's a big success. Each time you lose it and you allow yourself to indulge, let me recommend, do not, if you've said, well, I'm going to do it just this once, get me a cheese pizza. The worst thing you could possibly do in that moment is to beat yourself up, judge yourself, and make it bad and a problem. If that's the choice you've made in that moment, just see it in a compassion for your human animal. You're letting her do it this one time. Try to do it with compassion for your human self and all your human weaknesses. Don't use it to beat yourself up with. Don't make it a problem. It doesn't have to be a problem, even if you chose cheese. We can cultivate an open heart through loving kindness meditation. And there's a softening of the self when we practice loving kindness. That's an excellent tool to pare away self. Offering loving kindness to this one and to those ones. That's another thing that builds up. The more kindness, the more compassion we put out into the world for ourselves or any other being, and especially for our earth, that just builds the reflexive coming to every situation with kindness and compassion. This is so cool because we're not powerless. We can make a choice. We have the power to empower ourselves to reflexively choose kindness and compassion over judgment and afflictive emotions. So, true freedom comes from a peaceful mind, one who is not tortured with desire, with aversion, with clinging, with grasping. So I'd like to read you a scripture from a book called Verses on the Faith Mind by Sen Tsang, third Zen ancestor. And it says, if you wish to know the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind, the dis-ease of the mind, and also the disease of the mind. When the fundamental nature of things is not recognized, the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. The way is perfect as vast space is perfect, where nothing is lacking and nothing is in excess. Indeed, it is due to our grasping and rejecting that we do not know the true nature of things. Live neither in the entanglements of the outer things, nor in ideas or feelings of emptiness. Be serene and at one with things. Be serene and at one with things. It's so important, I want to say it a third time. Be serene and at one with things. And erroneous views will disappear by themselves. Just drop away. Because that spiritual self has germinated. That little shell that holds the seed in, it just drops away. When in harmony with the nature of things, your own fundamental nature, you will walk freely and undisturbed. However, when mind is in the bondage of judgment and opinion, the truth is hidden and everything is murky and unclear. And the burdensome practice of judging brings annoyance and weariness. What benefit can be derived from attachment to distinctions and separations? And the words are lovely, and the thoughts are lovely, and they point towards deep truths that words do not do justice to. And sometimes it helps when we're learning these things to have someone, a Dharma buddy, a teacher, a mentor, that's ahead on the path that we can look to see, what does this actually look like in the world? What does Dharma on the hoof look like when it's walked out? My person who does that for me actually is twofold. It's Panadipa and Panawati. If we watch either or both of them as they deal with how life comes up for them, they're human. They got the A string. But they don't, it doesn't trigger them. Or in Panawati's case, sometimes it can trigger her. Deepa, I've never seen it trigger him. He makes a perfect mirror for us. Panawati shows us, and so that's beautiful to see. This is what it looks like in the end. So that's Deepa on our yang side. And then we have Panawati, who sometimes she does get triggered, and she does not hide. She's extremely authentic and extremely transparent. She does not hide these things from us. What she does is she goes directly to the Dharma. And then next Dharma talk, she shares what it was, how it grabbed her, and what in the Dharma brought her through it. She's close enough to us to where she's ahead on the path, but we can see the footsteps. So there's our yin. And with the two of them, we have the most beautiful yin-yang symbol. What a gift. Now, as I say that to you, friends, these are not young people. And we know impermanence is a regular truth of this existence. So allow me to encourage and invite you, take advantage of every opportunity you have to listen to them speak, to sit at their feet when it's just a group talking. Don't miss your opportunities with our yin-yang symbol while we have it in its completeness. It's such a gift. Okay, so I'm going to offer you another song, and then we're going to take a few minutes just to sit together. So now, as we spoke of earlier, I want you to remember, because this song is called Love is on Our Side. I want you to remember our definition of love as a selfless, deep regard or light. It can be seen in either way. Waken to this moment, though you might feel broken. See beyond the torment, love is on our side. Waken to the glowing truth that wisdom's showing. Keep the kindness flowing. Love is on our side. Sharing in the drama only makes things worse. that our oneness is the truth our fear enshrouds. So when you get reactive and wanna fight for what seems right, remember it's the fighting that's blocking out the light. Just stop one heart from breaking. You won't have lived in vain. Just ease one life the aching, or cool one being's pain. Raise up, reflect, lean into seeing our true face, each unique spark of divinity. Now there's our saving grace. So when you're facing stormy weather, know we're all in this together, now and for forever. Love is on our side. You are love beyond all measure. Love is on our side. So let's take a few moments together, friends, and let's offer loving kindness in whatever way it works for you. We'll just sit for a few moments. So I want to extend a hearty thank you to all of you who are here in person. It's lovely seeing your beautiful faces. I want to extend a great thank you to all of you out there in Cyberland and for being with us, whether you're with us in time or in the future. And I want to extend a big thank you to all the holy beings, all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas who came to be with us today to help us absorb truth and Dharma. So let us close with a dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can bind in giving unity, may their minds awaken to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light brave the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Be well, my friends.
Love you, Maureen.
Thank you, Maureen.